You've all heard the advice about long complex passwords, so you rack your brains to come up with one that's got the right mix of lower and uppercase letters, numbers and symbols, that passes all the online tools which tell you it's a strong password. Then it becomes so complicated that you don't have any headspace for other passwords and you end up using it on all of your accounts. Well, the saying goes that your password is only as secure as the least secure website you use it on. And if you do use the same password on multiple accounts, you are opening yourself up to a type of attack called credential stuffing, where a bad actor tries the same username and password in multiple websites to see what works. But that is still a much better approach than a simple dictionary word password, which offers barely any security at all. To show you why longer and more complicated passwords are so important, I'm going to demonstrate a couple of different tools and attacks. There are several different password cracking options available to attackers. The most common are brute force, where every possible variation is tried one after the other, or dictionary, where a list of possible keywords is tried. Before I show examples of both those cracking methods, let's first talk about how passwords are stored. Databases with good security practices will store your credentials in the form of a hash, and when you enter your password on a website, it will first be converted to a hash. That hash is matched to what exists in a database, and if they match, the password you entered is correct. This is a basic mechanism to prevent passwords from being sent over networks or stored insecurely. There are several hashing algorithms, but to show you one in action, here is a hash of the phrase ABCDE. To calculate this hash, the computer has run a mathematical algorithm over it. No matter who runs the algorithm on this string of digits, the hash will always be the same. But the hashes cannot be reversed, meaning you can't decode what the original was from the output. If you change a character, the hash changes. Like in this example, I'll now swap the E to an F, and the output is completely unique. To show you how cracking works, I've come up with a list of passwords, hashed them with an algorithm called MD5, and stored them in a file called hashes.txt. If I was to compromise a website database and extract a list of accounts like you hear about happening in data breach problems on an almost daily basis, this is an example of what the bad actor would have access to. These passwords vary in complexity, but to show why short passwords are a bad idea, I'm going to use this tool called Crunch to create a list of all possible 6-character variations between A and Z and output the result to a text file called 6cars.txt, short for characters. The file it's going to create is over 2 gigabytes in size and over 300 million different possible variations. You can see it took about a minute to create, and this is the top and bottom of the list to show how it looks and all the different character variations that will be tried as part of this attack. Now, to carry out the attack, I'm going to use a tool called Hashcat, which is installed by default on this free operating system called Kali Linux. Keep in mind that to do any of this, it hasn't cost me a single penny, and I haven't done anything illegal by installing and using this operating system or these tools. What makes the activity illegal is obviously trying it on legitimate websites. I can tell Hashcat to try to crack the hashes listed on hashes.txt with the 6cars list created earlier. We let it run, and just speed up the recording now so you can see at the end here it's taken just 3 minutes to complete, and we have our first password being cracked. The other passwords I used were longer than 6 characters, so no surprise it can't crack those. I'm going to use the dictionary technique here too to break these hashes. In December 2009, an organisation called RockU were breached, and the passwords of all 32 million of their users were leaked. That password list is installed in Kali by default. These passwords are 14 years old, but the amount they're still in use today would probably shock you. I can use the same Hashcat command, this time referencing the RockU list, and check if the hashes are the same as in my file. This time, because the file was smaller, it was a tenth of the size, 300 million lines down to 32 million lines, you can see that it actually only took 13 seconds. Here it's found the 9-character word butterfly, as well as these other words with special characters and numbers. Very simple, very easy, and very little effort from a bad actor. But what if you've been smart and think you've got something unique to you that no one will have used before? I'm going to use here a tool called CUPP, or the Common Users Password Profiler, to create a custom dictionary based on what I might know about somebody. I'm going to make up a fake person here to show this. Let's pretend here the user's name is John, surname Smith. Common nickname for someone with the surname Smith might be Smithy. The birth date, partner name of Jane, partner's nickname Janie. Birth date here for Janie, 2nd of February 1990. John and Janie have a child. Let's pretend that Charlie's name's James and their nickname's probably going to be something like Jimmy. And let's say their birthday is the 3rd of March 2020. Let's see, they have a pet. Let's pretend it's a pet dog. Let's just give it a name of Fido. Let's pretend here that John works at a company called Organisation. And let's just add in some other keywords about the victim. Just from a simple look at John's Facebook page, I know that John's into football, he likes eating pasta, and he drives a Tesla. Let's add the option here to add some special characters at the end of words. I'm sure we all remember the days when we were moved from simple passwords and we were told we need to start adding numbers in, so everyone just added a 1 to the end of their password, and then we were all told we needed to add special characters. So pretty much everybody universally just added an exclamation mark. Well, let's add those in to make sure we can see if they're part of the password. Let's also add some random numbers in as well. And finally, I'm also going to enable leet mode. Leet mode is sometimes called hackerspeak. It's a way of converting letters into numbers. Like you see here, the LEET can easily be converted to a 1337. A lot of people will think they're clever by changing S's to 5s and O's to 0s as a way of adding extra complexity to the password, but a simple Y here in this question is going to make any of that effort completely pointless. Now let's create the dictionary. We've got close to 42,000 words here that have been created. Just have a quick look at it and you can see all the different variations based on names, based on the nicknames and numbers and special characters afterwards. We've got the dog variations as well, and all the possible variations that I was thinking of. And you saw how quickly the system chewed through a 32 million line database. It's going to be even faster for 42,000 entries. If they have created a password using details common to them, it's going to be easily cracked. So the question always comes, well, what can you do about this? How can you create a complex, unique password? I'm going to suggest 3 different websites here that should be used if you do want to try and see how complex or how unique your password is. The first one here is passwordmeter.com, and it allows you to enter a potential password and it will score it based on variables listed below. This will help give any indications of any additional things that you can add to your password to make it a little bit more secure. So for example, if I just go for every character along the top of the keyboard, you'll see it's a very low score because it's all just lowercase letters. So let's try adding what's known as camel case, where we can start to add uppercase and lowercase one after the other. So it's a slightly better score, but it's still not secure enough. So let's now add in the rest of the characters along that line, which would be special characters, which bumps us up to 100%. If we scroll down, we can see we score 0 for numbers. So let's add some more numbers on there and make that a little bit more secure. But just because Password Meter says it's secure doesn't necessarily mean it is. Let's try having a look at this website here. So bitwarden.com also provide password managers, which is something that I use personally. Here we put the password in and we can see that it will take about 8 hours to crack using a brute force dictionary. So let's add some more characters to the end of that. Adding some numbers makes it 1 day, so slightly longer, but still, if someone's determined enough, they'll sit through and they'll let that chew away for a day. Let's build it out even more, and now as we start to add more characters in, we get into a lot longer to crack. The key factor here is how long a bad actor is willing to try to get into your account and into your password. And if we make it super long and complex, they're obviously going to give up before they get access. The other website here I'd recommend is Have I Been Pwned? So this website tracks all the known data breaches and lets you know if the password that you're going to use has been part of a previous data breach. If it has, it means that it's at least a common password that has been used before. If it hasn't, then it's unique. It's not going to be part of something like a RockU database that's going to be easily tried by a bad actor. Here's an example. I'm just going to put the word password in here, and you can see this has been part of breaches many times. Let's add a 123 at the end, and we're still nearly 300,000 times password 123 has been seen in password breach databases. So definitely worth checking out those 3 websites when you're going to create any passwords for future accounts. But what can you do to protect yourself? Well, simply put, you need complex, unique passwords for each account or application. If you use a common password or a dictionary word, it could be cracked in seconds. Ideally, you want over 12 characters in length and combinations of upper and lowercase letters, numbers and symbols. And the reason you want a unique password per account is because otherwise, if one account is breached, other accounts with the same credentials can easily be compromised. If this seems like simple advice, but you find it hard to maintain, I'd recommend a password manager. Personally, I use Bitwarden. They don't sponsor, but it's a recommendation that I give to everybody. It's free, it's easily deployed on phones as well as desktop machines, and they will securely store all of your passwords and even help with the generation of secure passwords. Just make sure the passphrase you use for your password vault is super secure, so all you're going to have to remember now is this one password. The advice of using multi-factor authentication is probably not new to you, but make sure you use the securest method of multi-factor authentication possible. SMS codes are better than no MFA at all, but due to SIM swapping attacks, they're easily circumvented. Multi-factor authentication means using more than just something you know, such as a password, and it combines that with something you have, such as a rotating code token app on a phone, or something you are, such as biometrics like fingerprints or iris scans. And the beauty of multi-factor authentication is that even if someone has your password, without the second factor they can't log into your account. If this sounds complicated, you've probably already been doing it for years without realizing it. Every time you visit an ATM, you use two factors to take money out of your account. What you know is your PIN, and what you have is your bank card. Without both of those things at the same time, you can't access your account. A passkey is a digital credential built on FIDO standards, tied to a user account and a website or application. They allow you to log in without having to enter a username or password. This technology isn't available everywhere at this stage, but ultimately will aim to replace passwords altogether because they are phishing resistant and can't be easily compromised, so use these if possible. As demonstrated with the CUPP tool, details that can easily be found out about you from social media, such as name, age, birthday, dog's name or your favourite hobby, make it easy for attackers to guess your passwords, even if you think you've made it harder by substituting letters for numbers and symbols. And finally, once you've thought of a potential password, try it out on some online tools to see if it's as secure as you think it is. And also check it isn't going to be part of a list an attacker may have stolen from someone else. And remember that by placing yourself in the attacker's mindset, you can better defend yourself.